Oxygen, the dissolved oxygen in the water here at the lake. For aquatic life to live happily in water, it needs to have an oxygen level of above 3. At the moment, the oxygen meter's recording a level of between 1.4 and 1.8 milligrams of oxygen per litre. You can see the water from the lake in Watamong in a beaker. Looks very green, pretty pea soupy. And on the right is a tub of go green powder. Go green is a mineral powder made from natural minerals occurring in rocks. It's produced by heating rocks to over 1,000 degrees, and then the rocks crack, producing a fine powder with a very high surface area, which is what enables it to absorb pollutants from the water. For water of a volume of around 1 litre, we will use a teaspoonful of go green powder. It's about how many milliliters? 14? About 14 milliliters, I think. Okay, now Dawn is just stirring the go green powder into the water. Right now the time is 11:30 a.m. almost exactly. Already you can begin to see some coagulation of particles in the water, and the watercolor's changed already quite a bit from green. You can start to see coagulation and flocculation of sort of particles, free particles in the water. Everything's coming together and sinking down to the bottom very fast. Now the time is just 11:31. It's already only a minute, but the water's visibly much clearer. You can see a large collected particles, partly the go green powder, but also the algae and other things in the water, like organic material in the water, has now sunk right down to the bottom of the beaker. The water you can see quite well through. I think if I put my hand behind the beaker, you can probably see my hand now showing through the water, whereas before you couldn't. Yet to compare water that hasn't been treated, you can see that there's nothing. You can't see the writing on the other side of the beaker or anything. Whereas on the beaker that's now been treated, if I turn it round, you can actually read the numbers on the other side of the glass. You can see my hand very clearly. And it's still only around 2 minutes. Now the time is still around 11:34, so 4 minutes after adding the go green to the lake water. But we're going to leave the water in there for another 6 to 10 minutes, just to give the mineral powder the time to work before we take an oxygen level reading. Since we last saw the water, we've stirred it one more time, and this is a second time. The go green mineral powder will work without this. It'll work slower if you activate the water by stirring. After it's settled this time, you should see the water even clearer than before. Now the time is 11:41. As you can see now, the sludge is fairly well settled at the bottom of the beaker. There's still some settling going on, and there's some finer particles in the water, but the water colour is very clear now. And also the sludge at the bottom of the beaker, which consists of the mineral powder, is not useless. If the sludge itself doesn't have too many toxic chemicals and other things such as heavy metals in there, then it can be used as fertilizer. Since the powder itself, go green powder itself, is pure mineral composition, things like calcium carbonate, magnesium phosphate, racin, zeolite, and other minerals from the naturally occurring rocks, this actually will make a very good fertilizer. The time is now about 11:48 minutes, so it's around about 18 minutes since we put the go green mineral powder into the water. We're now taking an oxygen reading of the water. Remember before I said that water levels, oxygen per milligram dissolved in the water needs to be at least 3 milligrams per litre to support aquatic life well. And in the lake, we took a measurement in the lake before and it was about 1.8, between 1.4 and 1.8. As you can see now, the water in the beaker now has an oxygen reading of 3.1 milligrams per litre. The time is now midday, 12 p.m. And as you can see, after half an hour, the water that we've treated with Go Green mineral powder is almost totally clear compared with the original water. Here's a beaker of the original water from the lake. Here's the beaker that we were seeing earlier. Almost nothing that I can see left in the water. You can see my hand very clearly, I would think, through the beaker.